You know, there's nothing more that I love than when a show that has been building to a really interesting thing decides that right there before it gets to that interesting part that you've been building to, it decides to just go and focus on something totally unrelated to that thing that everyone is really interested in for the whole fucking episode, and has absolutely nothing that pushes the story that you've been interested in forward. Love it. Episode 7, Inheritance, is brought to us by director Jessica Lowry and stars Yurin Ha, Bokeem Woodbine, and Bern Gorman. What about Pablo Schreiber? Aha! As the mystery of the artifacts and the Chief's mysterious past starts to heat up, we take a side quest off to see what Kwan and Soren are up to on Madrigal, and finally find out what the fuck this character has to do with the show. Kinda. So episode 7 picks up right where we left off a few episodes back, where Kwan and Soren were in the middle of the fucking desert. Apparently Kwan just left Soren behind unconscious and decided to go out into the desert to seek these mystics that her father talked to and told him something that got him to start the revolution on Madrigal. If you remember from that episode, I think it was 5, maybe 4, he apparently went out into the desert years and years ago, met with these mystics, they told him something that made him start this revolution and changed his life, but no one knows exactly what it was that they told him. So she heads out aimlessly into the desert to find them, and what do you know, she does. Now while all this is going on, apparently Soren came to, and as resourceful as he is, he made it to some spaceport and got back home to his pirate broken planet thing. While there, we do get a little bit of a side quest of him back in his home environment, and apparently he has a business partner that's not real happy with how he's been operating things, and people have taken notice that this pirate king, or whatever the hell he is, had this high profile person with him, aka Kwan, that had this big bounty on her head, took her with his favorite ship a while back out, came back without the ship, without her, and without any fucking money. They start to assume that he collected on the bounty and he's not sharing with everyone else. So of course this guy starts to talk shit about Soren at this party. Soren steps to him, is like, you sure you want to do this, motherfucker? Do you know who the fuck I am? Don't get shit twisted. The guy finally tells him, you know what, I've got this big score coming up. There's this UNSC freighter that's low security, that's got some slip space parts in it. It's gonna be like this big score. This is the one, let's get this thing. And Soren tells him, yeah man, sure, let's go do this thing. And they get together and they go on this quick mission to take over this freighter and get this high value stuff. And while there, Soren like drops this shit on the guy's foot and tells him, you know what, watch where the fuck you put your foot, bitch, and don't forget who the fuck is in charge. So in other words, we got like this whole big mission that Soren goes on with this guy just to teach him a fucking lesson and show him who the fuck has the biggest dick. Now while all that is going on, Kwan has finally found the mystics, these women in the middle of the desert, and asked them, what did you tell my dad? And they tell her, you're not ready yet. She's like, yes I am, I'm ready. I will fight anything, I'll stand up. I am the last descendant of my family. I am going to pick up the reins and take over the revolution. I need you to tell me what it was you told my father. I need this information. I am not scared. And they're like, nope, you ain't ready. But she keeps on because she's kind of a persistent little brat, and they finally say, okay, let's do this thing. They give her some trippy ass drugs, and then she has like this spirit walk thing where the Master Chief shows up, and she ends up having to fight him repeatedly, and he apparently keeps on killing her. Until finally she stops being hard-headed and stops trying to kill the man and just gives in and breaks, and he offers her his hand and takes her to this like well-looking thing out in the middle of the desert where these people that I think are supposed to be her ancestors start walking up to her and phasing in and out of each other. It's actually kind of a cool effect. Leading up to her father coming to her and explaining to her that when I came out here, I was shown this portal and I was told that I am the protector of this portal. And that has been our family's role since we got here. Where does this portal go? What does this portal do? Who made it? What is it? We don't fucking know, and it's not even on, and it's not going to be on until Madrigal is safe. And that is why her father decided to start the revolution, to make Madrigal safe so that this portal could come to life, I guess. And now Kwan has taken up that mantle. She is now the protector of this portal thing out in the middle of nowhere that she learned about when she was tripping balls with the fucking Master Chief in the middle of the desert. Now sidestep back to Soren for just a minute, and he and his wife are talking, and she's like, you know what, I know that you actually cared about this girl, and he's like, I don't care, she's probably dead or caught or whatever. She's like, no, he's not, because Venture, you know, the big douche canoe that's been taking over Madrigal, the big head dick over there, just put out a even bigger reward on her head, so she is still out there. You can tell he's kind of conflicted with this because he did tell John, I'm gonna do everything I can to protect her, so of course he decides to go back to Madrigal, find her, and save her life. Now, Kwan did ask her father while she was on this spirit walk, what do I do next? Where do I go? And he says, go to where it all began. She takes that as going back to the base that they all lived at, you know, the one that had that big battle in the first episode. And that's what she does. But while there, she's detected by Venture's goons and they all head out to get her. But hey, you know what? Lucky for her that Soren decided to go there as well, and they meet up there. He tells her, let's get the fuck out of here. I promise John I'd protect your ass. Let's go. And she's like, no, I have something to do here. I am the protector of blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Come on, let's go. And of course, that's when Venture's people show up and he's like, oh shit, all right, we're going out with a blaze of glory, motherfuckers. Let's get our guns and go. And she's like, no, there is a better way. Apparently, this base produced some type of gas or something. I'm not really sure. They don't go into a lot of detail about it. It's okay, though. We understand what they're talking about. This big structure in the middle of it that is like this umbilical that goes up to space, I guess, pumps gas that goes throughout the entire base and up this thing. She says, you know what? We turn the gas on. It goes throughout the entire base. There's a storm shelter right over there. We jump in there. We shoot the base of the umbilical. It ignites and blows up everything on this base, killing everyone, but we will be able to withstand the blast within this storm shelter. And Soren's like, okay, there's a small fucking military army that's here to kill us, but yeah, sure, let's do this thing. Kwan takes off hidden to turn on the gas so that they can ignite their plan, and Soren takes off like the bad motherfucker he is and shows, you know what, I've still got some of that Spartan training, and starts taking out the bad guys all covert-like. And we get a pretty cool action scene of Soren just kind of going through this base and taking guys out all Splinter Cell Sam Fisher-like. It's not quite as big and bombastic as the ones that we've gotten in the past, but it was still a good, fun scene. Eventually, Soren gets taken down. He's on his last legs. He's about to be taken all the way out by Venture, and then Kwan shows up having just turned on the gas with the Master Chief's motherfucking rifle that he dropped in the first episode. By the way, this was the rifle that I pointed out in that first episode that was an absolutely terrible effect when it hit the ground, but that's besides the point. She takes a shot, hitting the base, igniting the gas, grabs Soren, they jump inside of the bunker, everything blows the fuck up, and everybody is dead, including Venture. They have apparently saved the fucking world now. They're safe in the bunker. They come out, everything is fucking trashed, but you know what? It's all good because the world is safe, and she is doing what she's supposed to do as the protector of the portal well thing out in the middle of the desert. Oh yeah, right before all this, they also found a case full of money that her dad had there, so she gives that to Soren because he keeps going on and on about how you owe me a ship and a shit ton of money, and she tells him, I told you I was rich, so here's a shit ton of money, and apparently they got a ship as well. So Soren's happy, she sees him off, he takes this brand new ship, all this fucking money, and she's like, hey, you know what, I know you'll be back, and he's like, yeah, probably not so much. I'm gonna go do my thing, you're a whole lot of fucking trouble. They part ways, he gets in his new ship, he takes off towards home, she sits there stoically in the middle of the fucking desert, all by herself with absolutely no transport to go anywhere, and the place that she was calling home is blown all to fuck. I don't know what she's gonna do, but you know what? She's got that badass gun. She looks pretty cool sitting there in the desert, and the episode ends. Okay, so there's a lot to disseminate here. First and foremost, why this fucking episode exists. This episode does not feature the Master Chief, except within that whole spirit realm thing for just a few minutes, but that's not really him. He's not even in this episode. None of the other characters that we have been following all these episodes, this entire series pretty much, are in this episode. All the stuff that's been happening leading up to the Halo rings and the artifacts and Halsey and all that shit, not here at all. This is like a side quest. It's all Kwan's story. And this is a bit of a double-edged sword because many people have been saying, what the fuck is this character? A lot of people don't like the character of Kwan. Me, myself, personally, I don't really have a problem with Kwan. Much like I said in last week's episode, I don't dislike the character so much, I just don't see her purpose beyond episode 2. I felt like her arc, that I could tell so far at least, was completed then. There's no real reason for her to come back, at least in a major role. But with the exception of last week's episode, every episode has been going back for a few minutes showing what she's doing, but none of it has really had any meaning. We've been wondering, why the fuck is this character still here? And that is what episode 7 was all about. It was here to give us the reason that Kwan is still here. Here is her purpose within this series. She's the protector. She's the one who's going to have something to do with this portal. Obviously, this portal that is Forerunner technology. If you don't know what the Forerunners are, they are the ones that built the Halo installations. They also built the artifacts, all that shit. It goes back to the Forerunners. I'm sure we'll hear all about that stuff moving forward, probably season 2, but that's what it is. The Forerunners, they built all this stuff. They're extinct now. Now, this portal thing that is apparently in this timeline, in this show now, I am not familiar with it. As far as I know, there weren't any portals per se that took people anywhere within the Halo universe as far as them being on planets and going other places. There may be some in the extended universe and maybe in the games, I don't really remember them. There were things that would transport people within installations and planets and things like that, but from world to world, I don't think so. There were crafts, like say the arcs from Halo 3, that did go from planets to other places and they were designed for that, but not portals, or at least not that I remember. I'm assuming that this portal is going to be how we end up on the Halo ring at the end of this season or at the beginning of next season. Now, this is not canon. In the canon, the Master Chief first arrives at the Halo ring because right after the destruction of Reach, he is on the Pillar of Autumn. The Pillar of Autumn makes a blind jump to get away from the Covenant, and they end up at the Halo ring accidentally. And this kicks off all the stuff that goes on in the Halo universe as far as the games and extended material are concerned. However, if I had to guess, I'm gonna say that instead they're gonna use this portal. That way, somehow they're gonna figure out a way to be able to come back and forth from the Halo installation and the rest of the universe. And honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about this. It could work, I suppose. I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm not gonna judge it until I see how they use it. On the surface though, I'm not totally in love with it. That is kind of one of the things that made Halo interesting. These people are on this far off world or place and they're stuck there. They can't get away. That is one of their goals, is to get off that thing and get back home. Once again, this is all speculation. I don't know what the fuck this portal is going to do. They don't really say in this episode, and that's why in the beginning when I was giving my synopsis, I said we finally get a purpose to Kwan. Kinda. While she does have a purpose, that doesn't necessarily mean her purpose means much to the story. At this point in time, yeah, I'm sure that this portal is some type of artifact. It is Forerunner in nature. But what part is it going to play in the story moving forward? Am I really offended that this portal thing and all this is all new? It's not from the game? No, I'm not. I get it. It's a show. It's a new medium. They're doing their own thing. Retain the spirit. That's all I ask. I can't really say if they're going to or not because we haven't gotten it. All I can do is say that moving forward, I am going to keep a close eye on it, and hopefully they don't screw the pooch there. I've been happy overall what they've done with this show so far, so hopefully they just continue to do that. Now, all that being said, what did I think about this episode? And I am of two minds about it. If they're going to keep this character Kwan around, which apparently they are, at least for a period of time, we did need something to give her purpose, so I get it. I understand this episode, and I was okay with it. The things that happen in this episode, I didn't mind. They were entertaining. I was never bored while watching it. The problem I could possibly have with it in the future, depending on what direction they go with it, is what significance to the plot that we've been following does all of this really have? If it ends up working in naturally and makes sense and doesn't feel forced, I'm okay with it. I get it, you had to give us all this. And like I said, just as far as a viewing experience, watching the events that happened in this episode, it wasn't boring, I was entertained. Now that being said, I can't lie, I was a bit disappointed because we have been working up to something with the episodes leading up to this, and I was excited to see where it was gonna go from here. The ending shot of the last episode showed our first view of the Halo ring. Yes, it was kind of a vision thing, but you know what? I want to know more about that. I want to know what's going on there. They're building to something massive there at that base on Reach, and I think we all kind of know what's going to happen. I just want to know how it's going to happen. I want to see it. I want to experience it. So having this episode happen in the middle of that, which I know is a common tactic for these types of shows to do. They'll have a storyline going, and then they'll stop to branch off on this other thing that somehow is going to work its way back into the narrative later on. And even though I do understand that we may need this information that happened in this episode, and the episode as a whole was entertaining, it doesn't change the fact that the whole time all I could think was, man, I really want to know what's going on with Master Chief. I want to know what all that stuff with the visions and all that means. What's going to happen as a result of that? When are the Covenant going to come in? We know a conflict is coming. I'm pretty sure it's the fall of Reach, and I really want to see that shit happen. I want to see how this show is finally going to kick off the Halo mythos, how they're going to jump into it. We know, we are almost 100% sure that by the end of this season, that is where we're headed, and of course that means next season is going to be the true Halo, if you will. And I really just want to get there. We've got 2 episodes left after this, episode 8 and episode 9, and I am really stoked to see those. I want to see how this is all going to end, or at least go into the next season. So when I'm sitting here really excited about that, and I get this side story, regardless if it's important or not, not, I can't help but be a little bit disappointed in that. Now, as far as the episode itself, all expectations aside, like I said, it is entertaining. I had a pretty good time with it. The whole thing with Soren and this side mission he goes on, while I get it, it is mostly just character building, and character building's always good. I didn't really think it was that needed. Now, I do think that it's a good thing because it's character building for the character of Soren, and while yes, I don't think we're gonna see him anymore the rest of this season, the way they left it off, I feel as if this character is definitely going to be coming back and play a larger role at some point in the series. Whether that's next season or a later season, I don't know, but I think that they do have plans for this character, so okay, I get why they gave us some character building for him. And in all honesty, while yeah, it did seem a little bit out of place that in the middle to just stop and go with this little side mission of him doing this thing and this robbery, it was fairly quick and well done. It was entertaining. Like I said, I wasn't bored or anything. So overall, it was fairly painless, and it did give us some more backstory, if you will, and more character for this character. Did the episode need it? Absolutely not, but when you're talking about an episode itself that is diverged from the main storyline of the series, and you have a part of that episode that diverges from that episode's main storyline, I really can't point my finger at that part that much when the whole episode is doing that itself. So yeah, after all is said and done, I'm still not 100% sure about the character of Kwan. Did this episode give her something to do? Give her some type of purpose? Yeah, kinda. It's actually starting to go down that road. I'm starting to see what her purpose will be. Do I think that that purpose is really needed? Not so much at this point, but who knows where they're gonna go with it. They may give her character a very important purpose, and she may become a key character within this universe. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know where this is gonna go. But as far as this episode, episode 7, which is what this review is, yeah, sure, I was entertained by it. I didn't really necessarily think it was totally necessary, but as a standalone episode, it was entertaining. It wasn't boring or anything like that. We did get some information that moves something of the story forward, maybe, depending on where they go with it. I know that kind of leaves a lot of stuff up in the air, but you know, that's kind of what the episode did, but at least it gave us something, and it was entertaining overall. So there it is, guys, my spoiler thoughts and I guess review of Halo Episode 7 Inheritance. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits that go along with that, like these guys, and possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Dragon Khan, Silverlock, and Marge G. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Zanzibar.
Silver team, on me.
So I did want to touch on the whole woke thing I hear about this show. I know that I did touch on it a bit in some of my earlier reviews of this series, but I want to come back to it because this is a very Kwan specific episode, and her character is what a lot of those comments have been made about. And no, I don't think that this show is woke and all that. I mean, you can say a lot about the show, but that I don't think. And no, I don't like woke shit in my entertainment at all. You can lob a lot of complaints at this show, and some of them are founded, and some of them I think aren't so much, but that's me personally. If you don't like the show, you don't like the show. But there are complaints you can say about this show for sure, but I don't really get the feeling that it's woke in any bit, and especially with this character Kwan. I feel like a lot of that came from initially we had heard that she was going to be the main character that the show focused on, but we've seen now that no, that's not the case. Yeah, this episode did, I guess, to a degree, but not as far as the show as a whole. She's not the main character, the Chief is. So no, I don't think it's woke and all that. I don't think her character is woke. Is her character totally fucking pointless? Maybe. We'll see how that goes. That could be the case, but I don't think it's woke. So for those of you that were wondering, no, I don't think it is. Now, for those of you that have already made up your mind, well, already made up your fucking mind, so why are you here?